Hello, it's Harry Cole, the Sun's editor-at-large here at the White House in the press briefing room, where we've just seen one of the most extraordinary summits in 15 years as a journalist I've ever covered. Now, normally these sort of events where you see world leaders coming together months in the organizing, months in the making, there's all sorts of things stitched up in advance. Communiques and agreements are written by Sherpas and aides and officials behind the scenes before the leaders ever get into the room. But this has been one of the most impromptu, organized meetings, well, in modern history, really. Just on Friday, Vladimir Putin, Donald Trump were meeting in Alaska. They were meeting to decide the fate and the future of Ukraine without the Ukrainians in the room. Now, the Ukrainians jetted to Washington this Monday to meet with Donald Trump. But after that astonishing meeting back in February, where Donald Trump and his Ukrainian counterpart had that horrendous bust up in the Oval Office, where Zelensky was accused of risking World War III, of not showing enough respect, not showing enough thanks for all the billions of pounds of US taxpayer money that's gone into their war efforts. The tensions were high. So European leaders were keen to be here as a sort of show of unity, in fact, to sort of flank Vladimir Zelensky, and well, some of them are even briefing there to stop him being bullied by Donald Trump. The Americans, on the other hand, said, "Oh, hang on, no, we've invited you. We want you here. You are a key part of the future of Ukraine, not least because it's a war on the European continent." In the end, however, it didn't really need them here. The seven European leaders were kept in a sort of side room almost as Zelensky and Trump came face together in the Oval Office, the very scene of that dust up in February, and it couldn't have gone more differently. Firstly, Zelensky turned up, not in his trademark combats, not in his military fatigues, but wearing about as close to a suit as he's worn since February 2022, when the Russians first invaded. Now, that was some say one of the key reasons that Donald Trump was so wound up with him last time round in February, that he wasn't smart enough. He wasn't in business attire. So first off, he did that. He wore his suit, and it seems to have done the trick. Just on the doorstep of the West Wing, when Donald Trump came out to meet President Zelensky, he basically said, "I love it. Look, I'm so surprised." And they had a little joke about that. So they got off into a pretty good start. But on the substance of things as well, it's clear that the Ukrainians are willing to move. Donald Trump stood on an election campaign pledge to end this war. He said he'd be able to do it in a week. He said that he'd be able to, bring peace to the European continent in a matter of days. Obviously, he bit off more than he can chew with that. It's been months rather than hours that he has been the president, but he has got Putin in the room, and he's now got Zelensky in the room. And crucially, today, he's agreed that he's going to get them both together in a room. Now, if you thought today was an historic moment, a landmark in this bloody conflict, that will be an astonishing image. And actually, Zelensky didn't really need the Europeans here. They were a mere sideshow. Actually, he managed to see eye to eye with Donald Trump on a number of things. He's agreed he's ready to see and meet with Putin. And crucially, Donald Trump's made a big concession as well. He has said that the Americans are willing to underwrite any peace deal that is done with Putin with the force of American might, be that in the air, be that with legally enshrined suggestions that they will leap to Ukraine's defense should the Russians invade again, a bulwark to future Russian aggression. That has been a key ask of the Ukrainians all along. They say, look, we can't, we've been invaded twice now, 2014, a slightly more peaceful invasion, but an invasion nonetheless, the annexation of Crimea. Russia has been meddling in the eastern of Ukraine since 2014, and then that full-blown invasion 3.5 years ago. They're saying, well, if we agree to a ceasefire, what's to stop the Russians just rearming and coming back for more? Now, that American guarantee, a NATO-style guarantee without full NATO membership, it should be hastened to add, Donald Trump's ruled that out very clearly now. But some form of American underwriting of European defense of Ukraine is a big win for Zelensky, a big win for Ukraine, and it means it does unlock that crucial trilateral talks. That means the Ukrainians are suddenly now ready to negotiate. And these negotiations aren't going to be great for them. It's clear that they're going to have to sacrifice some land. But in another win for Zelensky today, Donald Trump very clearly on the record said that actually he thinks it's sensible to have these negotiations around the current front lines, not the maximalist approach for the Russians who are saying, well, hang on, we want all of the Donbass region. We want, we want bits of Ukraine we don't actually currently occupy to be on the table. It's clear the negotiations are going to begin. Lots of negotiations behind the scenes to get this far. But the real haggle starts now. And, while this has been a successful day for Zelensky, there's going to be some bad news down the line, and he's going to have to sell this deal to his people.
Everything okay? You all set? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.